This is life. Life can be lived on the physical plane, on the mental plane, or spiritual plane. Physical plane, just body, body, money, money, body, body, money. I work, buy, consume, die. That's physical plane. Mental plane, past and lamentation, what I don't have, or hankering the future. I want this. Struggle for life. But beyond this is life on the spiritual plane, which begins by the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and the beads, and chanting, reading the Bhagavad Gita. So it's all kind of life. The choice is yours. A dog doesn't have that choice, but we have that choice. Our goal here in this is, just like Tamara very wisely said, conversations from the soul. So I'm going to start calling it that. They're really conversations from the soul, and we want to make Bhagavad Gita come alive. There's a lot of people who can take on a belief, wear a dress, and say, I'm so and so and I'm so and so. But we haven't dealt with ourselves. We haven't dealt with our lives. So wherever we go, we find ourselves. And then we hop around from one place to the other. We hop around from one religion to the other. We hop around from one belonging to the other. But ultimately, we haven't dealt with ourselves. So real spiritual advancement is about dealing with ourselves. So the first thing we'll focus on is the power of the mind. How powerful is the mind exactly? How powerful are our thoughts exactly? What can they do? Like, I wonder what your idea is of how powerful the thoughts can be. Like, for example, my mother-in-law, I remember, she had like arthritis. When she first got arthritis 10 years ago, I started studying about it. That's like bone degeneration. You'll be surprised, medical websites will clearly say it's caused by mind, stress, anxiety. I was like, what? The mind can wear off the bones? Like it can eat away bones like that? But it does. Just think like it's intangible. I can't see it. We're just few people sitting in the room. No, we're a bunch of minds sitting together. And that's how you can have revolutions that change the world. How Nelson Mandela, I actually have given the example of that before, as much as I know the biography, how sitting in a prison cell with the right kind of consciousness, word by word, line by line, his whole biography got smuggled outside the prison, right? And it came to the world. But imagine, like, if we were in that situation, we have full freedom. We have full freedom, but we can't come up with something so productive because the mind is not under control. But someone who's focused, who's got a goal in life, who's fixed on purpose, can actually make. We can see this example even in the material world, isn't it? We can see this example. You would think, right? We have computer. Have you ever written a book? Got a computer, got pens, got everything. Can we write it? No, but someone's sitting in a prison cell with no paper, no pen, nothing, can manage to write something, and other people can volunteer to take it outside and give it to other people, and it can cause a revolution that lasts decades. It's amazing things like that can happen. So the mind's very powerful. Even materially speaking, if you can fix it on something, there's things it can do. What else can the mind do? What else? If you are, say, upset about something, you might have had that experience. You're upset about something, you're depressed about something. Everything around you can be great. You have wealth, money, everything. Like, I don't know what else people want in this world, but whatever you need, you have. Good clothes, nice dress, whatever. And then the mind's not okay. Your mind's depressed. Superstars, they'll often say that, right? That their mind's really. Who was it? Was it Jim Morrison, who died when he was 28 or something? Who was it? No, you guys, huh? Right, like.
Was it like suicide or what?
Yeah, I don't want to mix it up because I might be mixing the names of the guy from Doors, Anyway,
Doors?
yeah.
Oh yeah, I think he did that. No, the main singer.
I might be mixing the name. Right, I'm correct. He did, right? Who? Yeah. Who? How about this guy, Robbie Williams, top comedian, right? Just the minds hung him with himself with a tie. I'll tell you what happened when I was in Philly. The guy, UPenn's an Ivy League school, and they hired a guy to be the head of the, the dean of what's the mental health and wellness department of theirs. Did you hear about that? He committed suicide on the National Suicide Prevention Day. Imagine the state of the students. He was responsible for everyone. He's in his office. He committed suicide.
That's crazy.
It was crazy. They're gonna shush it up real quick. People don't hear about it. But he was in charge. He was the dean of it. And in his office on the day of National Suicide, Why do they do things? I'm still giving you like a material example. You're so young, you're like, oh my God.
I've heard of it, but like to actually do it on a day, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, because something's there, like something's there. The mind's very powerful. It can make you do things. People say that, they act in ways that they don't want to. Actually, Arjuna asks this question in the Bhagavad Gita. Why is it that we act in ways we don't want to? It's a real question. Why do we do things we don't want to? We don't always do things we want to. Now, let's see what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. He says the mind is so powerful. Krishna explains that mind is the template on which your body is formed. Just like anyone here knows how to sew or like, oh, great, awesome. So, like you get those patterns and you can just cut it and sew it, right? Right. So my mom's a good seamstress. I'm not, but like I've seen, you can just cut a pattern and you can just put it on the cloth, and then like you were showing me nicely sewed clothes the other day, right? That your friend sews and sells. It's amazing. You have a template and you just replicate it, right? But the mind is like that. The mind is the template on which your body is formed, your life experience. It's that when one time, this is a real experience. I'm not making this up. I was in Canada. I was distributing Bhagavad Gita on the street to people, and this young girl, she came up to me and she asked me a very serious question. And it's not the only time it has happened to me. It has happened more than once. She's asked me. She says, "I'm thinking of committing suicide. What do you think about it? What does the Bhagavad Gita say about it?" She's very serious, and it was a serious question. I couldn't bluff around. And I've had several people ask me this question over the past 20 years, just meeting people on the street. It's a real question people think about. That actually my aunt even asked me this question. She didn't ask me in this way, but she said, like, I'm just waiting for death to come. And I had to, like, kind of like, she's old and everything. And I had to tell her, death doesn't solve anything, actually. Suicide doesn't solve any problem. And I'd explain this to this lady, this young girl that I'd met in Canada. I said, right now you have a body, you have a choice. Once you end the body through something like suicide, you're just left with the mind, which is where you're actually experiencing all the suffering anyways. But you won't have any way of dealing with it after. Right now you have a body. The body can be used to udharet atmana atmanaivam. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, udharet atmana atmanaivam. One should deliver oneself by the help of the mind. So you have a body that can be used as a tool to guide the mind. But the moment you drop the body, you don't suffer in the body. See, this is dead matter. If you have a dead body and you put like a heater around it, will it sweat? If you have a dead body, if you hit it will it pain? No. If you put a heater around me right now, it will take me 2 minutes for start sweating, right? But the dead body, you can put all kind of heaters. You can't. No scientist can make it sweat. So there is something that is in the body that makes it alive. So as soon as that body drops, we have no ability to control this. So what I was trying to say is the body, the matter in itself doesn't suffer. This is dead matter. Does this hurt? Does this hurt? It's dead matter. This body is made of the same elements as this book, this thing, everything, same elements. Earth, water, bhumi, apo, nalo, vayu, kam, mano, buddhi, evacha. Krishna says these are my 8 ashtada prakriti bhinna. These are my 8 separated potencies, these different things. Our body is made of that. It doesn't feel pain. The soul, we've read several times, cannot be cut, cannot be burnt, cannot be right? Remember, we read so many verses like that. You're reading that too in 2nd chapter. Very nice. So you see, the soul cannot feel the pain. So the body is not feeling the pain. The soul is not feeling the pain. Where is the pain felt? It's in the mind. Mm-hmm. Material existence is lived in the mind. And of the 5 kinds of illusion, one of the first kinds of illusion is to identify with the body as a self. And the body includes the mind. It's one of the first kind of illusion. It's an illusion. I think this is real. So as long as you think it is real, so much suffering can come. A ghar in Sanskrit, ghar means a place where you worship the Supreme. And a karaghar means a place where you suffer, a prison, karaghar. A home becomes a prison when there is no connection with Krishna, when there is no connection with the Supreme. Without that, it becomes a prison. Why is it a prison? You'll say, I'm living in a comfortable home. I go for a walk. I always walk from here up until Ponce almost every day. I walk down the street, straight down on Oakdale. I walk all the way to Ponce de Leon. And every day I see these fancy houses. Nobody in there. It's like, no, I often talk about it. It really is such expensive houses, like $1 million houses. Nobody but a dog. And even the dog knows. And because I think about it, I was like, why doesn't the dog go from this yard to that yard? Even the dog knows to stay within its prison. It's called an invisible prison. Material life is like an invisible prison. You do your term, you go work all day, all night, and then you suffer from insomnia. Anybody here ever experienced that? It's really intense, right? You suffer, you can't even sleep, then you can't eat because you don't have time to cook. Then you order things from outside. It's just, you're living in a hotel room literally, and you're paying for it with your blood, right? You're paying for it with your blood. So it becomes a prison. It becomes a prison. This prison is first formed in our mind through illusion. It's a really, and we are so overly concerned. This whole thing is driven because we're overly concerned about the destruction of the body. And we completely ignore the distraction of the mind. We're so concerned about protecting the body, but it is disintegrating anyways. It is going to go away anyways. Like now it's Halloween time. Like people have skeletons all over the place. Like there's this one skeleton. I walk down, it's got this sign and this peace sign coming out of it. It's like one hand out of the ground with a peace sign, and this it's like Facebook like. I was just thinking about it. Is it really peaceful? Is this what we aim for? And one skeleton tomb, so stupid. I think it's so ridiculous. People put these up. One says, bye so and so. That's it. I was like, wow, you're dead and all. Somebody has to say bye Chelsea or something like that on it. That's it. Like a tombstone with bye so and so. So it really makes you think. People think it's funny, but for an intelligent person, you can actually think, because this is a question in the Mahabharata. Dharmaraj, he asks Maharaj Yudhishthir this question. He says, what is the most bewildering thing in this world? And I've said this multiple times before, and he says the most bewildering thing is that everyone's going to die, and everyone's thinking they're going to live forever. Just like Adiola mentioned today, and I said that my teacher, one of my mentors, she was wished happy birthday after she gave a class on Bhagavatam, and her response was, yes, 1 year closer to Krishna. She made that comment. I think it stuck with you. You kind of stuck with it. It's just because what are we celebrating? We have 1 year less left. What are we celebrating? Truly, if we're not making spiritual progress, what are we celebrating? We lost another year. Just think about it. But it's our concepts are so weak, and we need a lot of intoxication to carry on with this illusion. Because if you're in your senses, you won't enjoy like being a skeleton and throwing a peace sign out of the ground. That's not the destination you aim for, right? You wouldn't aim for that. At least then let me rest in peace. Even the basic teachings that Jesus taught, even that people have forgotten. The basic things, like thinking it's real fun coming out of the grave. It's what is coming out of the grave? Can the skeleton move? It's dead matter. That means the mind is stuck there. So coming back to the power of the mind, like I was saying, we're overly concerned with the body, and we completely neglect the distraction of the mind. And this conversation in the first sixth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna and Arjuna get into this conversation. And Krishna is telling Arjuna nice and clear. He says, Udharet atmana atmanevam na atmanev as avasadyat. He says you should deliver oneself by the power of the mind. One should not degrade oneself. And he says, atmana atmaneva bandhu, atma ripur atmana. Mind is the friend, is your best friend and is your worst enemy. Mind flies on two wings. One is the past, one is the future. The mind's filled with hankering for the future, lamentation for the past. That is life on the mental plane. This is life. Life can be lived on the physical plane on the mental plane or spiritual plane. Physical plane, just body, body, money, money, body, body, money. I work, buy, consume, die. That's physical plane. Mental plane, past, lamentation, what I don't have, or hankering the future. I want this. Struggle for life. But beyond this is life on the spiritual plane, which begins by the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra on the beads and chanting, reading the Bhagavad Gita. So this all kind of life. The choice is yours. A dog doesn't have that choice, but we have that choice. But good point. He said he's stuck in the past, and it's because it's not him. See it scientifically. It's in the mind. The mind's always in the past and the future. So if he's living his life on the mental plane, he's always going to talk about what he didn't, what he lost, or what he wants. It's that life. It's just literally that. So back to this point. So we want to control the mind, right? Let it go doesn't really work. The best way to control the mind is to convert the mind. See, the mind needs to be controlled means mind is your enemy. The enemy needs to be controlled. But what is the best way of getting rid of an enemy? Make him a friend. Very good, smart. But the boy, to make the enemy a friend. What happens when the enemy is a friend? There's no problem at all. So that is what Krishna is saying. Mana eva manush. He says, Mana eva manushyana karanam bandhan mokshada. Mind alone of a man is a reason for bandhana and moksha. Bandhana means being trapped, and moksha means liberation. And he says, bandhaeva vishaya sango, muktai nirvishaya mana. What is it saying? The bonded mind is vishaya sango. Vishaya means sense gratification. So you're like vishaya vinivartan, you're just like almost thinking about sense gratification. Your mind's absorbed in it. So that is the reason for bandhan, or for being trapped. And nirvishaya manaha, a mind freed from contemplation about sense gratification, is the reason for liberation. This is a very important point. Vishaya, sangha. Sangha, association. Like we're taking association from each other right now. If you want to know the future of a person or your own future, it's very simple. See who you associate with. If you associate with transcendentalists, that's where you're headed. If you're associating with materialists, that's where you're headed. If you want to be a drunkard, what's the best way?
Go to the bar.
And hang out with? Right.
The
With drunkards, right?
yeah, that's
right. What is sparacha?
Baracha.
You gotta write it down. It's a good word or a bad word? I hope you're not teaching me bad words here.
Yeah, it's Spanish. It means drunk, but it like
Baracha.
It can be the act of being drunk, or it can just be the person.
Okay, so all stages of being drunk. If you want to become expert in, you hang out with someone who's expert in all stages, right? Similarly, if you want to make spiritual advancement, you gotta make time for it. Spiritual life is not so damn cheap. It's not something you can just go on a date with someone to a new age cafe and talk about for some time, and then just it will just kind of like, I had a spiritual experience one. No, the material energy is inundating us. It's like a tsunami coming your way, and you're like, hey, I'm just gonna like just stand on this little thing and that will protect me from the tsunami. No, you need something much better than that. So similarly, material life is like that. It's an inundation. I'm going back to Queen Kunti's words about like a small spark can start a fire. I remember being in Adelaide, Australia, there's way more forest fires than you see here. And once the forest fire starts, I don't know, maybe you've traveled there, Jackie? Yeah, so like once the forest fire starts, it just spreads, like goes on for days. They can have like choppers dropping water, it just doesn't stop. So I remember there was a huge forest fire in Adelaide, it's the capital city. And I remember after that driving through it. We were driving for like a good half hour or something. I remember my friend Anne and we were just driving through, and everything was burnt, charred. Like giant trees, like charred to, like you could just see a stump. The soil was all black, like everything was charred. Like it was literally like you were going through my kitchen after I done burning some dishes, Everything was charred. It was just so overwhelming. You look left, you look right, you look ahead, everything was charred. So that is what material life is like. It's just this full inundation. So just, like, oh, I'm going to control my mind a little here, a little there, doesn't work. You need a way to convert the mind, to make it a friend. But how do you do that? Just like if you're watching a lot of, I don't know, obscene films and it's agitating you, right? So then if you want to change that, maybe you watch some documentaries or some better films so that will not agitate you that much, right? So this process is called purification. You want something better, your mind gets a little bit better. The most effective way of purification is to expose yourself to the supreme pure, which is what we do when we expose ourselves to Krishna's name, when we're chanting, we're reading, we're exposing ourselves to the supreme pure. Now, here's the thing. When you meditate, right, it's like your own endeavor. I've got to control my mind. Many times I meet people, like you've seen me out there, I meet people and they'll be like, it's really hard for me to control my mind. It's really hard for me to control my, I try to meditate, but I can't control my mind. So it feels like a bit of a struggle to meditate. I need to struggle to meditate. But just remember one thing. This is my whole life's realization is that Krishna is not some sort of a passive object that you're meditating on. Although the super soul is neutral in the heart, Updrishta Anumanta, he's witnessing and he's granting what you want. He stays in the heart, Krishna and the Lord in the heart stays, he witnesses what you want and he grants what you want, Updrishta and Anumanta. But for the person who's endeavoring to come close to him, he is Suhridda, the best kind of friend. Suhridda Sarvabhutanam, he's the best kind of friend in the heart. And he's not inactive, he's active in this meditation. So much powerful than your attempt to remember Krishna is his willingness and openness to expose his beauty to you. Krishna, it's the difference between climbing, if you're stuck in a well, bottomless well, like you're just stuck, you're trying to come up by yourself, versus if someone throws a rope and is pulling you up actively. What's going to be easier? Rope and the pulling, right? So Krishna's like that. He's active in the heart. I know I have struggles. Like, you live in this world, the one wealth you have is struggle. If you've lived long enough, right? The one thing you can tell the whole world about is your struggles. It's a wealth in this world, unfortunately. And my spiritual master, my teacher, he had said this point to me. He says, you can keep on rendering devotional service year after year. Memories of sacrificial devotional service will be the sweets of life. And it's a real point. Otherwise, it's just struggle for sense gratification. You must struggle in this material world. There's no way out. You will struggle. If you think you solved one problem, the next one's just waiting for you. It's like the demon, you cut one head off and then it becomes two heads. Like 3 head, 2 halves becomes 4, right? You would say that, right, Serenity? Agree with me, right? This world's like a unique way of finding a new problem for you every step of the way. If the meditation of your life is going to be how to solve your problems, you're not going very far. My spiritual master recently told me, he said, you have to rise above it all. You have to rise above it all. And how do you do that? You have to take shelter. Someone has to throw the rope from you. This kind of impersonal meditation just going to keep my mind, breathing exercises. People pay so much for these things. And I'm not saying it doesn't work. But what I'm saying is it's not an eternal platform. Any medication you take, it will end its effect. Any therapy you take, it will eventually die out. And even if it works, some other karma from your past will pop up in your subconsciousness and it will go on. There's a beautiful conversation between Prabhupada about this guy Jung, who's the founder of psychology. He talks about his the flaws in the philosophy. So psychologically, materially, you might find some temporary solution, but remember, as long as the seed of desire in the heart to enjoy matter is there in your consciousness, problems will come back. So we have to figure out a way to deal with that seed in our heart. It's there. It's like a weed. I don't know if you've seen weeds. You cut them and they come back. You cut them and some weeds are like so strong, like you can just dig it. Still comes out. You have to dig into the ground like a couple of feet, pull it out and just figure out a way to burn it, otherwise it'll keep coming back. So desires in the heart are like that. So we don't want to just deal with the thoughts, because the thoughts aren't coming from ether. They're coming from your desire to control and enjoy, which is another kind. I said there's 5 kinds of illusion. Another kind of illusion is to think, second kind of illusion is to think of material sense gratification as a standard of happiness. If I get what I want, I'll be happy. This is a kind of illusion. It's a powerful illusion. This is called material sense gratification as the standard of happiness. Another kind of illusion is to actually lament, just lamentation. Or another kind of illusion is to think that there is something beyond the supreme absolute truth. There's something beyond the supreme. So these kind of illusions, they grab us. And we put so much energy to try and solve them. Now Krishna is saying, he says to Arjuna, he says, Ashwatam tu enam viruddha moolam. He says this tree, Ashwatam tu enam, this tree of material existence is viruddha moolam. It's very deeply rooted. I don't know if you've seen that, like trees, old trees are just so deeply, you can't move them. You can sit on them, lie on them. Anyone been to California? San Francisco, redwood trees? Anyone seen? You've seen them? You've seen them? It's beautiful, isn't it? Gigantic. Like maybe the one will be in this room, right? You could stand inside them, have a whole house. Very deeply rooted, actually. And like actually, if I get into the whole forest is one organism. They're all connected. But anyway, that's a whole different story for another time. So it's deeply rooted. And what is the root? Our desires. We want something. We don't even know what we want, but we want something to control and enjoy. So it's very deeply rooted. So Krishna says, Ashwatam tu enam viruddha moolam. This material existence, our attachment to it is very deeply rooted. Asanga shastrena dridena chitva. He says, asanga. Sangha, remember I said sangha means association? Asanga means stop the association. By the weapon, shastra means weapon. Shastra means weapon, and shastra, these books are also called shastra. Shastra means that which has been stitched together, words of wisdom that have been stitched together. Shastra is also a weapon. When somebody can kill their ignorance with the shastra, that's one way of living. Otherwise, mass kind of weapons come and destroy you, right? So shastra and shastra. So asanga shastrena, by the weapon of detachment, you cut off what? And dridena chitva, with determination. Your consciousness has to be very, chitva means very determined, dridena chitva. Another time he says abhyasena tu kante, he says by practice, and vairagena, he says by detachment. So you have to practice this in order to actually make some progress, but it can't be on nothingness. If you have to, we want to enjoy because we don't want to accept that there is it's kind of like a tricky situation. This will be my last point, but it's a kind of tricky situation because we have taken on this false idea that I need to enjoy by myself. Try to think about it. It's like the hand is convinced that if there is a cake, I'm not gonna give it to the mouth. I'm gonna rub it. Because I, the hand, must enjoy. But will the hand ever enjoy by rubbing the cake in itself? The only way for the hand to enjoy is to put the cake in the mouth. So it goes to the stomach and the nourishment comes there, right? That's the only way. We're like that hand. We've taken on this false idea. Remember I said different kinds of illusions? We've taken on this false idea that I need to enjoy by myself. I must enjoy. It's a false idea. So then how do you enjoy? I have to go party. It's New Year's Day. I told you guys the story before. I'll tell you again. I remember I was 19 or 20, 19 years old. I think it was my last year of engineering, and it's New Year's night. Everyone must party and everyone must have a good time. So it's like, I have to have a good time. It was so much pressure. 20 years later, I haven't forgotten it. It was so much pressure. I had to get a nice dress. So I had to get, I got black pants, black jacket, black everything. I really wanted this really nice black thing. So I got this black dress that I wanted. I don't know why. And then I had to go to a particular party. And I had to be out all night to be able to enjoy this, right? And I generally sleep at 8 o'clock, even when I was in university, maybe 9. It's just like I have to stay up all night because I must enjoy. I just remember that it was so stressful, so stressful. Then you must get drunk, and you must not throw up if you're drunk. The whole thing is so convoluted. And then all I'm doing is picking up all my friends who are drunk because I can't handle throwing up. I don't like fainting, throwing up, anything like that. See, and the kind of person I remember I was in university. There was a festival and they had marijuana in the school, and I heard about it and I got so scared. I was like, "What is this thing?" I didn't know what it was. So they said, somebody told me, if you have it, if you're laughing, you'll keep laughing, and if you're not laughing, if you're crying, you'll keep crying. I was like, this sounds so dangerous. So I ran away from the whole place altogether. I didn't want to see it. I just didn't want to see it. If I saw it, something would happen. So it's like, for someone like me to enjoy a party was very difficult. I just remember hearing about this thing called marijuana. It's like, you have it, and you keep laughing if you're laughing. I don't know if this is true or not. I have no clue. Never tried it. But after I heard it, I got so scared. I was like, oh my God, you lose control? You can't stop laughing. And the last time I had heard this is even more stupid. When I was in boarding school, little hyenas would come. And they said, like, hyenas, the urban myth was that they make you laugh. If you laugh again, you heard that one?
But you're like that now.
Huh?
Like that.
But my point is, like, you hear these things, right? So now I've given you a bit of a background about myself, and now I had to enjoy this party. It was so hard. Just try. When material life is like that, you've got to try to really enjoy that pressure. And we live with it every day. It's a false pressure. Like, if you have a bag you're carrying, I understand. But we're carrying a false burden. There is no such thing as enjoying away from Krishna. Just like the hand can't enjoy by rubbing the cake on its face, or like me and the face are going to make friends and we'll rub it. No, it has to go in the mouth. Similarly, happiness, rishikena, sevanam bhakti ruchate. You have to serve the senses of the king of the senses. Rishikesha is the name of Krishna, master of all the senses. You serve the master of the senses, automatically your senses will be satisfied. And the beginning of this experience for you all and for me is that this is right now theory, right? I'm just telling you theory, and like, it sounds great, but what is the experience? How do you prove it? The beginning of it is you start chanting, which is why I always tell everybody, try to have a personal practice of chanting on the beads every morning. Even if you start with one mala bead, like, I know you were into beads, she was telling me and everything. So yeah, just practicing chanting the mantra on the beads by yourself is such a powerful practice. Do it every day. Do one round. Increase when you're comfortable to 2. Increase. You will see happiness is not something that MasterCard or Visa will buy. You'll just see so simply. It's not you don't need to endeavor outside of yourself for it. Just try to chant, get some real wisdom. Otherwise, you're just trying to work so hard to perpetuate a false belief which will never work. Remember, material happiness by definition means that which does not exist. It doesn't exist. You're chasing the rainbow, the edge of the rainbow. It's a mirage, it doesn't exist.